Okay, in this lecture of biomechanics, we are going to study the third chapter, which is kinetic concept for analyzing human motion. Basically, if we say that what is kinetic, kinetic is basically the study of forces. So we check the how to check the forces, how the action of the forces, how to check the action of the forces on a human body motion is basic concepts are in this chapter. We discuss in this chapter. So for example, if we say that when muscles on opposite side of a joint develop tension, for example, if a muscle wants to perform any movement, so joint from both sides, force from both sides act on a joint. So after that, a joint motion can be perform in what direction, or joint movement in perform in what direction or in which direction, we have to see in this chapter regarding that. Then after that, what determines whether a push can move a heavy object, a heavy piece of furniture, like that, we can get the answers of these questions in this chapter. So basically the human body both generates and resists forces during the course of their daily activities. Basic enable walkings, manipulations, center of gravity, forces of gravity, friction, they are called. If a person is a sport participant, so they involves application of forces of balls, because ball, bat, racket, all are the things in which we apply the force if we are a sport person. So after that, we can also absorb forces from these things, like balls, ground, floor on opponent sports. So these are all the activities we see in this chapter in detail. So first we have to see the basic concepts related to kinetics. So first we see that first we have to write that basic concept related to kinetics. So in this, first we have to see the inertia. What is inertia? So basically, if we say that inertia is basically means resistance or to action or to change. If we say that any object that wants to move, so their body mass can, or anything that resists their change, or that resists the change of action or movement, like that, if we say consider this pen as an object, and if we say that they wants to move but they can't because of their mass or because of the resistance force they want to apply on, to cannot more want to change, they can stay in this position, and in current state of motion they cannot want to move. So inertia is the tendency of a body to maintain its current state of motion, whether motionless or moving with a constant velocity. This is like that. If we say that in a simple way, if you want to move that, or if you want to take the object, anything can resist, or any resistance force act on them is called the inertia. So basically this is called. Another examples are if a person, if a 150 kg weight lie on a floor, or lying on a floor without performing any motion, because they cannot move because of their weight, so they have a tendency to remain in motionless, because they have the weight that can help him to resist the action that they want to perform. Also same as skater gliding on a smooth surface of ice. If a person, okay, uh, we again consider these two pans like that, and these are the two pans, and if we want to move the pan, so the other pan give him resistance to cannot move the pan simply. This is the basic concept, that any resistance performed by any other object that resists the change is basically the inertia. So inertia is basically the object, if we say that as we see that a skater gliding, as we discussed, that a skater gliding on a smooth surface of ice has the tendency to continue gliding in a straight line with a constant speed. For example, if you say a skater glider want to skate on a ice in a simple way in a straight line with a constant speed, they have a tendency to continue like that because of the inertia. They can resist the change, or they can resist, simply they can control the movement. So inertia has no units. First we have to write the basic that inertia has no units of measurement. The amount of inertia is basic the proportion to its mass. So these are the basic things that we have to see, that if the mass is high, they can maintain, or they tends to maintain its current state of motion. They cannot change its state, and difficult to change its state. So first we have to write the definition. Tendency of a object, of a body, to maintain, to resist a change in its state of motion is called inertia. So this is, they have no units as we discussed, because of they cannot be measurable, so no units of measurement. And the third main point is amount of inertia, or amount sorry amount of inertia is directly proportional to the mass, or to its mass. As if they are more massive, or they have more mass, so we have uh, difficult for us to change its state. So this is the basic concept of inertia. So after that we can see mass. So okay, this is the pen, as we say that the F has a high mass, and we cannot change, they can stay current, they cannot move, so they can stay in this state because of the mass. So other is mass. So basic, as we know that what is mass is the quantity of matter composing a body. How much quantity of matter compose a body is called their mass. They are denoted by m. Okay, the common unit of basic, we have, first we have to write all these things. What is the common units according to metric system? Okay, the common unit of mass is the common unit of mass, okay, kg. Kg is the common unit, because we can use in our daily life. So this is the common unit, and this is according to English system. Oh sorry, this is not according to English system, this is related to metric system. Sorry, metric system. And other is slug, that is related to English system, or English unit system, which is much larger than the kg if we measure them. So this is not this is rarely usable, so we cannot use that. The common unit is basic is kg, so kilogram. Okay, after that we can discuss the third point is force. Okay, force. Now what we have to see. Okay, next we are going to discuss the force. Force can be thought of as a pull or push acting on a body, that is regarding the force. Basic, if we say that if any pull or push is acting on a body, that is called force. And each force is characterized by its magnitude, its direction, its point of application. They are totally depend on forces totally depend on magnitude, direction, point of application to a given body, on where we want to apply the force, what is their magnitude, in what direction we want to move that object. All are these depend on the forces depend on all of these. So this is likely like that because human body have many forces act on them, like body weight, friction, air water resistance, all are forces that commonly act on the human body. So if we say, first we have to write pull or push, pull or push acting on a body is basically thought as or called as force. Okay, after that we simply say that characterized by its magnitude, direction and point of application to a given body. The action of a force causes a body mass to accelerate basically, so that's why we can say F is equals to ma. So the action of force that causes a body mass to accelerate is called the force, and force is written in uh, F is equals to ma, like that. Okay, the units of we have to find the units of force to how. So F is equals to, taken that formula, units of force, like we have taken this is for this formula, and I put the values or put this uh, F is equals to ma, and then put their units kg for a mass and meter per second square for acceleration. So these are the basic units, and then kg meter per second, and as we know that this is equals to newtons. So these are the units of force. Force is equals to newton. Okay, this is according to the common unit system or metric system. So we have to find the other units that in according to the English system. So in English system we have to write first in English system. Okay, English system, most common unit we use for force is pound. So English system, force pound is the unit for force, and it is denoted by lb, like that. Okay, a pound is a force or amount of force necessary to accelerate a mass of one slug to 1 feet. So that is equals to 1 slug, also equals to 1 slug and 1 into 1 feet per second square. So 1 lb is also equals to, or that is the constant for it, 4.45 newton. So these are the simple units. And so after that we have to discuss something in detail, that is the free body diagram, because a number of forces act simultaneously in more situations. Constructing a free body diagram, and usually the first step when analyzing the effects of forces on a body or system of interest, we use the free body diagram because we want to analyze the effect of forces on a body. Simply we want to see what forces are acting at the same point at the same time on the same body. So what are the different forces acting on a body? So we can draw any sketches, a body, free body is any object, any body part that is being focused for analysis. A free body diagram consists of a sketch of a system being analyzed and a vector representation of acting forces. Basically, these are like that. So first we have to see uh, what is the free body diagram. The free body diagram is the sketch that shows a defined system in isolation with all the forces vectors acting on the system. For example, if we taken that example of this is the racket, my diagram is not so good, so please consider it as a racket. So this is a racket. I know my diagram is so much rough, sorry for that. Okay, this is a racket. When force is applied from above, that is force applied by player, like that. So we can represent it like that. In this direction vector applies the forces, so the arrow is from above to below. That shows the direction of the force simply. And the other force is the weight that is on the downward side, and the other force is acting by a ball contact. When a ball is on contact with that racket is basically the tennis racket or badminton racket, what you want to consider them. Then basically we can take an example of tennis racket. So this is ball contact. So this is the first force applied by the player and the second force is applied by the ball contact. We can simply see, because our object of interest is racket, so we can see the forces acting on the body is, first one is racket and the second one is ball. So if we consider this a bat, so if my hand is applying force, so this is considered in that direction, so we can simply say like that. And when it is in contact with the ball, the force of ball that act on a racket is simply acted on in this direction. So this is simply like that. But if we say, because this is the in this example we have taken the racket in our object of interest, so these are the two vectors or two different forces acting on the racket. Simply because the racket is because our hand is applying the force on a racket, so racket is forcefully contact a ball, and because racket is our free body of interest, so we cannot consider ball as a object, or we cannot consider our hand as object. So simply which force is applied from where, we can apply, we can form a arrow, because we can form a vector that is called, that arrow is called vector, so we can perform a vector. We can simply both consider as a vector. So these are the these are our sketch. If we draw, that is our sketch. From that direction the apply by the player, and from above direction that is applied by the force by the player, and the below ball contact, as we have discussed in the physics before, so we cannot taking too much time on that. The other example is the ball. In this our object is body, racket, body of interest is racket, but in this we have taken the ball. So if first force is racket apply on a ball and other is weight, we cannot consider, if we cannot consider racket as a weight, so we can simply taken the we cannot taken the weight as a force, simply we have taken the racket. So racket is if the tennis ball constitutes the free body being steady, the force of racket acting on a ball is displayed as a vector. So in this racket, ball is in contact, that's why they cannot consider as an object. But in the but as we have discussed that both are the vectors representing the forces. So in this the racket applies the force on a ball, that's why, because ball is our because ball is our interest of body of interest. That's why we can we can form a vector. We can consider a racket as a can consider racket as a vector or force acting on a ball. So basically this is the detail. Simply we say that this is the very detail about the both examples. Okay, simply if we say the ball is in contact with the racket, so in both diagrams if we compare them, our body of interest is main thing that we want to apply on what object we want to apply the force. Interest of our we want to learn from them. So after that the net force is okay. Net force. Net force is the resultant force derived from the composition of two or more forces. So, which is the net force, which is the vector sum of all the acting forces, as we know that in the racket example 2. So, if we take that, if they are balanced or they cancel each other, two forces acting on them, if any object, so they are considered as zero. But in other case, if the net force is present, a body moves in the direction of the net force. For example, if we taken this pen, so if the net force is in the direction, okay, first we have to write that. Okay, simply as we say that they can move in the direction of the net force. If a net force is present, the body moves in the direction of the net force and with an acceleration that is proportional to the magnitude of the net force. So we have to first we have to write that net force, and the other possibility, if this is object and they want to move in this direction, so that is net force and the body also moves in this direction. So this is simply an example. So after that acceleration is directly proportional to the magnitude of the net force is basically the cause of the movement of the or body moves in the direction of the net force. So this is all about the force. Next we are going to discuss other